How to Train Your Dragon, Ready Player One, Mean Girls, and Pitch Perfect. These critically acclaimed films that have been praised for their innovation have all become a major part of our pop culture. Despite their vast differences in genre and content, they all have one surprising thing in common. Each one has been adapted from a book. Books to film has become increasingly popular over the years, and according to an online article by Esquire, just within the last 5 months, 7 book-to-movie adaptations have been released in theaters. Now, I, for one, love movies, and I'm always looking for new and exciting adventures to go and see. However, I can't help but think that with more and more books being transformed into film and television, does this take away from the need or desire to actually read a book? Which brings me to the problem that our society faces. Binge watching movies and TV shows has become the new form of reading books. To prove my claim, I will be dividing my points into 3 topics, starting with the negative effects binge watching has on its consumers. Is binge watching depriving people from the benefits of reading? And lastly, is there anything that we can do as individuals or as a society to solve this problem? So let's dive in. In 2015, a study was conducted by Consumer Insights, Microsoft in Canada, and declared that due to technology, goldfish actually have a longer attention span than humans do. So with such a short attention span, how could anyone ever take the time to finish reading a book? And with the ever-growing popularity of Netflix, consumers have over 127 hours of entertainment right at their fingertips for instant gratification, which is where the birth of binge watching began. Now, the concept of binge watching has actually been around for quite some time, but in the good old days, it was simply called reading a book. The same feeling that you get flipping through a chapter book is exactly what television today has emulated through their Netflix original series, such as Stranger Things, which even goes as far as to list each episode as a chapter. However, unlike reading, binge watching can have some negative effects. According to studies and research conducted at USC, binge watching could lead to sleep deprivation, higher levels of anxiety, loneliness, and depression. And so secondly, is binge watching depriving people from benefits of reading? In the good old days, summers consisted of curling up with a good book and basking in the sun. But according to a survey conducted in 2015 by New York-based research and consulting firm Miner & Company Studio, 67% of people claim they're reading fewer books than on previous summers vacations because they're watching TV shows streamed online. Now, with the increasing number of people switching to online streaming, that means less and less people are receiving the benefits of cracking open a book. According to an article from the Huffington Post, reading has many benefits such as reducing stress, keeps the mind sharp, helps us sleep better at night, and can increase your intelligence due to the constant feeding of new vocabulary. And lastly, is there anything that we can do as individuals or as a society today to stop this problem? With our constant strive as a society to make things as convenient and instant as possible, it seems very impractical to stop binge watching. And on the other hand, eliminating reading isn't unreasonable, so why not have the best of both worlds, like my friend Hannah Montana used to say, and bridge the gap? If we can discipline ourselves to use our imaginations and read the novels before they are turned into Hollywood gold, I don't see why we can't indulge in a binge every now and then. Thank you.
All right, Golden, why don't you tell us what you thought?
So I liked your attention device, your your thesis statement and your preview were very clear. I like the study about the goldfish, it's kind of funny. And your transitions are pretty good too, but I don't know if you had, I don't know, or maybe I missed it. Did you have a conclusion?
Okay. I tried making like the ending, the solution kind of the conclusion, but yeah, I should have wrapped it up a little better.
Yeah, because I didn't know you were gonna end. I thought you still had like a conclusion, and then you just ended.
Yeah, I thought it was a little rushed at the end. I did think that there was kind of a conclusion, but it seemed like it was anticlimactic to the story that you were building up here, and so.
I get nervous.
And it you know, I do like the idea. Let's bridge the gap, but the next thing I know, so read before you see the movie, and then you're entitled to do a little binging. You got an exit line. You need a little bit more of a summary, and you need a strategy on your solution to develop it more. I thought that you did a pretty good job building the need argument here at the beginning and telling us that we're losing something because we're falling into these habits. I like the fact that you had information about our attention span with the goldfish study. I like the data about people acknowledging that they're doing less summer reading than they used to do. You've got some good statistical information about how much people are watching stuff or streaming. You've got examples, I should say, about how much people spend watching those kinds of programs. I like the illustration about how streaming has kind of become a substitute for people reading, and because it satisfies the same need. I like that idea. I think that could be developed a little bit more. The illustration that you have with Stranger Things being like chapters, and when people would read and get involved in the reading, they would want to rush to read the next chapter to see what happens or be engaged in that. And that's the same sort of thing that happens when people do binge watching. It's not like everything is a satisfactory sort of thing. Stories nowadays all seem to have a kind of serial component to them, that there's another thing coming. When you're watching a show like Stranger Things or Game of Thrones, it's people are anticipating what's coming up, as opposed to some programs where you don't have to binge watch because there isn't a continuing story. It's just this week's episode. That
like
kind
back
of
in the day, it was like more linear, and I think
Yeah.
now it's like
leaving
you on the edge of your seat so that you can binge watch.
I think that the way people write for programming or for movies is more designed to get to the next point, kind of a race to the end sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those changes that's taken place. And I'm not sure which is the cause and which is the effect. Did we stop reading because we all got caught up in doing that sort of thing? Or did we start doing that sort of thing and stop reading? It's like, I'm not sure which direction we're going in on this one.
Yeah.
The presentation, the reading thing is a little bit problematic. Although I thought you'd used your voice pretty well for the most part. You could be maybe a little bit more engaged, but your eye contact is limited. And then, of course, because you've got the notes in your hands, you're not also as engaged physically as you might be as a speaker, and I think that's a little bit problematic. And it's briefer than it should be.
Yeah.
Everything goes by faster than people expect it to.
I was trying to slow myself down, but nope, just...
And when we originally talked about this, I remember having the conversation with you. I'm going, okay, well, you got to turn this into an argument. And I think you did a pretty good... Yeah, no, I think you did a pretty good job at that. I just think it needs to be done a little bit more. There's a lot of people that are saying the kinds of things that you're talking about, that we're changing our actions, behaviors, and there are consequences to that are not going to be necessarily good for us in the long run. The I don't want to sound like an old man, which I am, but the idea that people need to continue reading, they need to continue to do these sorts of things, that's a good argument. That's an issue. And your suggestion that this form of binge watching is having a negative effect on that, I think that's an interesting turn on this particular subject. So you've got something that would work really well. I think you could for example, you could do something like this as a persuasive speech in speech competitions, and it would be effective because it's different and it's creative, and as long as you developed it a little bit more, I think it could be a very successful competitive subject. The subject itself helps you a little bit, but you got to turn it into a speech that you can make yourself. All right, thank you.